Owning a buy-to-let property comes with a lot of challenges and a lot of rewards. So how do you approach it as a full-time business?
So this is one of our ensuite rooms. Most of our rooms are now ensuite. We found that's what the market's asking for.
Andrew Paris has turned his buy-to-let venture from being a useful source of income into a full-time job. He began 6 years ago, looking for a way to invest his money after the financial crash.
As usual, the floor could use a sweep.
At least the dishes are done. We wanted to invest in property because we wanted a sound investment with a good return on our capital. The economy was very uncertain, things were happening, it was scary times in investment terms, so property seemed like a very good place to put money because it was bricks and mortar.
It's gone so well, Andrew now works full-time in the business.
We started off part-time, and in that period we built up 3 properties, and we realised that actually it wasn't just an investment strategy, it could be a lifestyle change. So we decided to give up our day jobs and concentrate on the properties. And over the 7 years we've been doing this, we now have 10 properties in Nottingham. That's 62 tenants.
From the beginning, the plan was to offer high-quality lets aimed at young, professional people.
We always wanted properties that we could walk in and show people and feel comfortable and proud. Our philosophy has been, we've got kids of that sort of age, and our philosophy is it good enough for our kids? And if it's not, well, why are we expecting somebody else's kids to live there? So we will perhaps go and see a house and we'll look at it, and some of them are really cringeworthy, in terrible, terrible states. But you can see beyond the surface and think, well, the location's good, the size is good, the structure's basically sound. I can see how we can actually turn this into something that's going to be really attractive and really safe and comfortable for the tenants.
With 10 properties and 60 tenants, there's a lot of work to do, but so far there haven't been any major problems.
We get most of our tenants through the internet, through the house share websites. Most young people now don't reach for a newspaper or magazine, they go online to find things, and that includes their accommodation. Sort of tenants we aim for, they're working professionals between the ages of about 23 to 30. Nice people, and we have very few problems. There are some issues sometimes because you've got a number of people living in a house and sharing. We try and step in where we have to and just guide people to get it right. But sometimes house share doesn't suit everybody. And unfortunately, we have to say to a tenant, look, at the end of the tenancy, I think it's better to find your own place. But it's few and far between. Most of our tenants are great people.
Yeah, I just wanted to show you what I've done in here.
So, what's this experienced landlord's advice for others thinking about moving into the buy-to-let market?
That works, doesn't it? I think if you're setting out to be a landlord, do your research. There's a lot of things like gas safety, electrical safety, market demand. It's too easy to watch TV programmes and think, oh, that's easy, and it's not. Nottingham in particular has a lot of rules and regulations surrounding all landlords, but particularly multiple occupancy like we do. And you can actually fall foul of all sorts of laws, regulations, and be in serious trouble if you don't get it right.
So how do you turn your buy-to-let into a full-time business? And is it a good idea to set up your own company or buy as an individual?
Hello.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Property owner Emsal Ahmet is meeting Michael Wright from Rita for Rent to discuss the pros and cons.
So it looks like, yes, probably 15 to 18 properties here. Do you have ideas roughly of perhaps the percentage profits that you make?
Do you know the profits that do come in? I spend all of it back into refurbishing the properties. So I can't actually live off the portfolio.
Tell me a little bit about what you're looking at doing in maybe the next 5 years, the next 10 years, and then we could perhaps build a plan.
I started off going to Scotland, invested there, but then after a couple of years I found that the capital growth wasn't there, so I borrowed more money and I started investing in London. Well, I've taken a year to step back and not do anything and just look at perhaps what's happening and what the future could hold. And I've decided that it would probably be wiser to incorporate, so I'm taking advice on that.
So you've given us this excellent summary of...
For Michael, there are many factors to consider before deciding whether to set up a company.
The attraction with limited companies is if you're a higher rate taxpayer, you would pay 20% corporation tax as opposed to 40% tax if it was income tax and held individually. But it's a big decision to make because it's not just the corporation tax versus income tax, which is the case in point. Whilst you pay that lower rate of tax as a company, you still may want to extract those profits out of the company. So if you're an investor, for instance, that holds property individually, they pay the tax and they've got that money left over in their pocket. If they've got it in a company, the profits are taxed, but then you've then got further implications of taking it out. So you may pay yourself a salary, you may pay yourself a dividend. These can attract further tax implications. So it's a bit of a balancing act to try and work out what the best way is to do it. And what we say is to make the right decisions for the right reasons. Don't just go straight into the thought process that I've got to go into company because it's a lower tax rate. It's taking a step back, trying to see what you're trying to achieve in the future and then map your way to achieve that in the most efficient way.
It's clearly a big decision and one that you have to think through carefully. And the message from those who've done it, take advice.
Speak to an accountant that deals with property and get some in-depth advice before stepping out and buying a property for rental purposes. You could find that you're paying a lot more tax than you expected.
Here on the Buy-to-Let Show, we aim to bring you all the information you need to run a successful buy-to-let. You can find more advice and help by following these links. And you can download our special ebook, which goes with the programme.